What's up? It's your boy Joel Ortiz, and I want y'all to keep it locked right here because y'all watching the real Gully TV. It's official. This ain't no phony business right here. This is Gully TV. You keep it right here. Yawa.
When I was booking the interview, one of your representatives, they asked me to email the questions. I'm like, man, I'm a Lords of the Underground fan. Man.
Yeah.
Freestyle this
That's,
drink, man.
don't worry about that. That's how they do. You know,
No doubt.
on the political level, they be on some otherness, man.
No doubt.
For real.
Speaking of politics, how did this all start? How did you end up out of the Shaw hoodie?
Right.
And with the tie on. How did your political career
Man,
start?
you know, I still rock the Shaw University hoodie.
Okay.
But I think, just transitioning into different roles in your life, I was just talking to somebody the other day and I was telling them I feel like this is my third chapter. But then as I started to say that, I started to realize that maybe it's a little more. But this is, for me, in sections, this is my third chapter, man, of just being an adolescence in the neighborhoods of Westward, of Newark, New Jersey, and growing up from that, always rhyming, always rapping, and going from that to being that college dude, that guy from the block who went to school,
Right.
and then going from that into having fame with Lords of the Underground, and then coming into this. And there's so many different moving parts, right, that make up the whole. There's Tupac Shakur, there's Hafiz Fareed, there's a councilman by the name of Ralph Grant Sr., there's a teacher, an 8th grade teacher by the name of Nicholas E. Boakwe. So all of those people who I named, there's my father, Robert John Kelly, all of those people who became mentors to me in a certain way. See, I didn't have my biological father in the house. At 8 years old, my stepdad, who I call, who's my dad, who's my father, he adopted me when he got married. Like my real last name was Dupre Williams, which was my mother's maiden name. And at 8 years old, when he adopted me, I took on the name Kelly. So I became his son, and even when they got divorced, he never stopped treating me like his son. So, I'm really just like all of that. I'm saying all of that to say that it played a part in who and why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So I started a nonprofit organization called 211 Community Impact. But before that, in Lords of the Underground, my manager, Hafiz Fareed, would ask me, I see you with Newark on your hats. I see you with Newark on your shirts. But what have you done for Newark? That's what he asked me. I'm like, what? I'm Newark. What you mean what I done for Newark? And he's like, nah, I see you promoting it all on television. I see you, I'm sorry. Could you tell them we doing an interview to, they got a, my bad. So they would ask, he would ask me, what have you done for Newark? And I really had to think, like, other than just being from here, being in Lords and things like that, I had to think about it. And he would say, yo, you have a platform with Lords of the Underground. You got to utilize that and plant seeds. Don't just take from the harvest, but plant seeds where you are. Because if you plant seeds, then you might inspire somebody to be greater than what you've becoming. And I took that to heart. So he was the chief of staff for this councilman, Ralph Grant Sr. So when they started knocking on doors, this is before I even got in Lords. When they started knocking on doors, I was knocking on doors. When they, anything that it was something, and then when we got in Lords of the Underground, he started making us utilize our fame and our popularity to influence people in the neighborhoods. So it was a brother by the name of Raz Baraka who was an activist at the time. He wasn't a politician. It's my guy. He used to call on me and say, yo, I hear you want to be on BET, Vibes, or I hear you want to be on MTV. We having a rally, we closing down the street for to stop the gang violence or to stop the youth on drugs and stuff like that. And he said, I need you to galvanize the people when you go on TV. Like, tell them that we're going to be out here. Wasn't no social media back then. So that's what I would do. He would call me and I would have people come to City Hall, the steps of City Hall. I would do all of those things. And, that was part of it. That was part of knowing that the power of being popular or the power of fame that you can really galvanize people. And another thing was when we were 20 years old, we were on a Tupac tour. It was Tupac. We had Outkast opening up for us. It was reggae singer Patra. It was who else was on that tour? It was Jeanne. It was a bunch of us on this tour, and we were in Orlando, Florida one time, and Pac and I almost got into a fight because we shared a van with him. It was like a 16-passenger van. He had about 10 people. We had about 6, maybe. Vans packed. But one of our members was late every day. So this day, Pac was on his vibe. You know, he was just like, you know, he started talking to, that's when he was with Thug Life, was on the road with him. And he just started talking to third person, like to Thug Life. Like, man, it's my tour. People always late. And, you know, and I felt like he was dissing us, you know, but he wasn't really saying it, you know.
Right.
And, you know, Thug Life is, ha, 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 they laughing at anything that he say. So I just felt like, all right, I'm going to start talking third person too. I started saying, you know, people act like they from LA when they really from Baltimore and, you know what I mean? I started saying all that type of stuff. And then it's like he was at the back seat. I was like right by the door. Then we started kind of getting at each other, like just talking. And before it got really thick, then my man got on the van. I was like, all right, well, he here now. He can take up for himself. But it just kind of subsided after that. But after the sound check, it wasn't over. Pac came to my room. He had an arm full of things in his hand. So I'm like, and we had motels then. We not inside the building or nothing. This is when you go to the motel outside the door. I look out the door, it's Pac. So I called Lord Jazz, because DJ Lord Jazz was in the van. He heard the argument and all of that. And I'm like, yo, Pac at the door. He like, word? He's like, you want me to come up there? I'm like, nah, he by himself. I'm just letting you know, just in case anything fishy go down. So I open the door. I don't say anything. He just look at me. He like, you ain't gonna let me in? I move out the way. He come in. There's 2 beds in the room. He sits on one bed. He got 2 40s in his hand, a Newport behind one ear and a blunt behind the other. He cracks open the 40 and hands it to me. And I was like, now I know that was a peace offering. I wasn't really sure before, you know, at 20 years old.
Right.
He cracks his open, put it on the stand. I don't know if he took out the blunt or the Newport, but back then you could smoke in the hotels. He lit it up, and then he was like, yo, you know you was wrong, right? I still ain't say nothing, but I was. You know, I was just taking up for my crew. I was wrong in the sense that we was late, but I was taking up for my crew. And but he was like, that's why I rock with you. He's like, I rock with you because you took up for your peoples and you was wrong. Like, y'all was wrong. He's like, but that's how you do, man. He's like, sink or swim. He's like, you always, that's loyalty. And then just to fast forward, he started going in that type of conversation, man. And this, in hindsight, this 20-year-old young fella, man, was telling me, yo, we gotta stay where we live at. You know, don't move from where you came up at. We gotta make those places better. You know, and by you gaining popularity and selling millions of records, we gotta sell more records so we can turn those record buyers into voters. He was like, once we turn those into voters, then we gotta start youth organizations and youth programs and youth initiatives and help our seniors. And like, this 20-year-old Pac, I'm looking at him like he crazy, like, man, we rappers. Then he said, man, we might have to do something we don't want to do, and that's become legislators. I went to college and I almost ain't know what he was talking about with saying legislators. I was like, legislators? Like, man, we rappers, man. What you talking about, Pop? And he was like, yeah, that's the only way that we're going to effectively make change if we create the laws that were made against us. Like, we got to, you know, be able to turn those laws around or create new laws that represent our people. And he was like, man, we have to become the politicians. I was like, wow. This was back then. I didn't even think about it until I started doing the work in the community. So everything that he said in that room, that hotel room in Orlando, Florida, back when we were 20 years old. So I'm 51 now, so that was 31 years ago that Pac said that to me, man. And it's like I did everything except win the seat. And that's gonna happen on May 10th, 2022. You know, inshallah, God willing, man. You know, and you know, so to just basically answer your question, what made me get into it is doing the work made me get into it. I never looked to be a politician. I still don't think I'm a politician, but my team tell me to stop saying that. You know what I mean? It's just like I feel like I'm a people servant, because I've been doing the work before I ever aspired to be anybody in anybody's office or the seat or anything. I just wanted to fill a gap in my community. And what I mean by that is just, where there's a need, then supply that need. And that's what I've done. I started a nonprofit organization called 211 Community Impact. We bought 25,000 books for the Newark public school system. That's a gap filler, 25, because we have about 40,000 students in our city of Newark, So I bought 25,000 books to try to fill the gap. We've got a lift bus for our special needs school. We have two special needs schools in Newark. One is called John F. Kennedy, and one is called Regional Day. So I went to them, a partner of mine, Monaco, who's my campaign manager as well. We went to them and asked them what they need back to school one day. And of course they said, the regular notebooks. We bought pallets of notebooks for the school and pens and pencils and all of the, the school supplies, book bags. But I felt like that was a Band-Aid. And when I went into the school, it's a special needs school. So, you see the children in wheelchairs and all of that type of stuff. And I asked him, I said, yo, if you had to ask, what is it that you really need? And he jokingly, the principal at the time, Dr. Green, said, well, we need a lift bus. But I took that serious, like, oh, you need a bus? Why you don't have a bus for a special needs school? And they said they charge them $750 every time they move them around. And I felt like, wow, how can they be included in the things that are going on in our city if they got to pay $750 every time they move around, and they only get a $1,500 budget to move them around the city? So that's 2 trips and it's over.
Right.
So I got some political figures together from the county, from the city, some investors to come in, and I found out that the bus fully loaded was only $60,000. If we can throw parties for $100,000 in this city of Newark, then we can surely get a lift bus for $60,000. So we acquired the lift bus, and because it was the first lift bus in the Newark's fleet, it made them match it and get one for the other school. So because of our actions, we got 2 lift bus, for the school. And we've just been doing so many different things of housing the homeless and feeding different people. So to answer your question, man, the people started to say, yo, we want you to be our voice. We want you to speak for the voiceless because you're already doing the work. And we need somebody that's really for us, from us, to talk for us. And that's really how I basically got into politics. And even when I was asked to run in prior elections, I said no. When you're growing up in cities like Newark, New Jersey, we always think politicians is not for us. And I have to agree with them in a certain sense, because those legislations that was made from hundreds of years ago, the 50 years ago, they weren't made for us, But now, if we have chance to get into power and to invade City Hall like Amiri Baraka told his sons to do, and they did it, then we have the opportunity to create things that's for us and by us, man. So May 10th, 2022, we have the opportunity to make history in the United States of America and elect me as the first platinum selling hip hop artist, in the United States of America. Sean Poe got me on the worldwide joint.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Sean Poe in Belize City, Belize, man. He got me on if I would have won last time, I would have beat him for the world joint, but he got me on the world joint. And that's dope. That's dope. That's what we have to do. Use our culture to influence our people.
What would you say your campaign is predicated upon? What exactly do you plan on curing?
Well,
correcting?
First of all, economic empowerment. We always talking about jobs, but in this day and time, how do you prepare somebody for a job that doesn't exist yet, right? And what I'm saying about that is 10 years ago, you didn't have the billionaires that you have because of tech world, So it's a bunch of new technology. It's a bunch of new ways of life. We got to stop taking the mindset of thinking that if we just put a basketball court or a baseball field, that they're going to flock to it. We have to start influencing our youth from them, by talking to them. We have to start figuring out what development we need and what we need in our neighborhood by talking to the people who live in the neighborhood. We can't just keep sending our seniors to play bingo. We have to alert them and let them know that there's other programs that are available, because a lot of them are not computer savvy. They're not computer literate. So, economic empowerment and putting measures in place that economic empowerment, those economic development doesn't just happen in our city without the other people knowing. Creating area boards so that the stakeholders in the community, they know maybe they don't want a liquor store in this area. Maybe they don't want this 40-story building going up right in the middle of their park. So we have to alert them. So economic empowerment, teaching them financial literacy. They don't teach financial literacy in our schools. We're breaking that mold with Westside High School. They have a city bank in the school. One of the first schools to have a bank actually in the school that teaches them what banking is about, what finances is about, what loans mean and what it is to pay them back and things of that nature. So also in Newark, New Jersey, we have a real diverse community. There's Africans, there's Haitians, we even have Ukrainians and people from Ukraine in our community. So it's about diverse equity too, right? It's about finding out who is there and making sure that everybody is equal in the things that are happening on our corridors, and that they all held accountable and they all can benefit from the things that are there. And it's not just one sect or group of people who are benefiting, but making sure that everybody benefits and making our corridors safe too. We got a lot of gang violence. We have a lot of crimes. We have a lot of stolen cars. But I will say that administration, the Baraka team and Raz Baraka, they've been doing a good thing by bringing crime down. I think crime is down like a large number, probably about 50% or something than it was before they took office. And that doesn't mean the crime doesn't happen. I think crime is going to always be how it is. But in a sense of that, you're still going to get some type of crime that happens in the community. But it's about being proactive with it. Having social workers go out with police so that we can do neighborhood policing for real, and not just having the cops. And another thing I want to say too, man, we've always been against the cops, but we've been against them because of how they treat us, how they treat black and brown people. I think that police presence actually reduces crime, but we just don't want the police to kill and beat up our sons. We don't want them mishandling our daughters, punching our women in their face and things of that nature. And I can say that because of the administration of Mayor Baraka, that we don't really have that problem too much in Newark, New Jersey, because of the stipulations and the circumstances that they will have to go through if that was to happen in our city. So we don't have to deal with that. But I believe police presence is a must, but there needs to be programming with that police presence. I don't want to say just hire a bunch of police and that's it. No, that's not it. The social workers going out with the police, that's a great thing because they can determine who has mental issues and things of that nature before cops just get on their cop mentality. So there's so many things that we're doing, man, that is really going to foster the change. And then health and wellness too. We want our areas to be safe. We want our children to be healthy. There's so many bodegas in the community that serve unhealthy food. We have to hold them accountable. If they're making millions of dollars off of our community, then they have to treat the community better. And I'm just saying, put some other choices in there. You are who you are and where you are because of you. So give the people the opportunity to choose, but not just to choose. We have to educate them on what to choose. We need more vegan shops, more juices shops, and let's make this community a real community. And that's part of my area board. I'm creating a revitalization plan for the community, and that's in there. So that we eat right, we eat good. I just believe you look good, you feel good, you do good. Correct. And I want to create for our young men. I have a look good, feel good program that I've been doing with my 211 Community Impact. We've been doing it for a few years, and that's just on a Wednesday, just a random day on a Tuesday. I want all of the high school students to wear suits, get fly.
That's nice.
And if you can't afford a suit, we can help you with that. We're gonna have a sponsor help you with that. We're gonna have these young men, these men out here who are doing well for themselves, who are driving fancy cars, who own businesses. You know, adopt a male from the community. You know, throw them in a suit, show them what it is to get teed up. It just changes the mindset. You know, if you got especially if you're a young fella and you got a couple of girls like, oh, Lamar, you look nice. He gonna do that again next week.
Correct.
Or he might do it twice that week. You know, so it's just doing little things, being proactive that change the mindset so that they don't become the problem when they get older. Because if you do not change their mindset, then they become the problem of the person who's knocking people's heads off, going to the penitentiary when they get older. You know?
No doubt.